If you're a buyer in the state of Indiana, you want to listen up. So as of July 1st, which is the day that I'm recording this video, July 1st, 2024, a buyer's agency agreement is now required in the state of Indiana. So what does that mean for you, and what is a buyer agency agreement? Okay, so what it means for you is before you can walk into a house, before an agent can show you a home, you have to sign a buyer agency agreement. Whether it's just on that house or you have a good working relationship with the agent and decided to work with them throughout the process, then there's a different type of buyer agency agreement that can be a longer term buyer agency agreement. But regardless, if you called the sign and you want to go see a house, before you walk in that door, you're going to have to sign a buyer agency agreement. So if you have questions before signing, make sure you're talking to that agent and getting your questions answered in advance, so there's no holdup along the way. So what is a buyer agency agreement? So with all of the new rulings and everything on who can pay commission and all that kind of good jazz, we're just going to streamline it here for you without going into severe details. A buyer agency agreement is basically stating that the buyer is responsible for their agent's commission. Okay, so we are putting our commission on there, what we're going to get paid or what we're going to negotiate to get paid. So if you have a home that you want to see, and for some reason the seller has decided that they don't want to offer buyer broker concessions, in that event, and if you can't pay them out of your pocket, in that event, that basically is going to rule that house out for you. If you can't pay, if they are not willing to pay your buyer agency so that you have legal representation in the process, then we're going to rule that one out and we're going to go see another one. If those funds are required, if you can't pay those funds out of pocket. Now, most people are going to, be educated enough to know by their agents that offering a buyer broker concession is going to be in their best interest to get more buyers to see their home, more value out of their home. And that is the listing agent's duty to explain to them how not offering a buyer concession or buyer agency concession can affect their the sale of their home. That was like a B or something. So basically this 911 message is for you as a buyer. Know what you're signing, because you can only sign one buyer agency agreement at a time. So if you sign just the 1-day one, so say you're going to go look at this house today, and before we walk in the door, I'm like, hey, this is our first time meeting, nice meeting you, before I can show you the home, I have to let you know that you do have to sign a buyer agency agreement today before we walk in the home. So that would just be that 1-day buyer agency agreement. We build that rapport. This isn't the house for you. We go show you some more homes. Now at this point, you're like, yep, I want to use you through this whole entire process. I trust you. And now we're going to sign a buyer agency agreement for 6 months. So that's kind of how that's going to roll. But if you already have an established relationship, you were referred to an agent and you're like, yep, this is the person that I want to use, then you can sign, the longer term buyer agency agreement without any question, because you know that is the person that you want to work with. But one thing that you want to understand is you can only sign one. So if it's just the 1-day one, that's not a big deal. It only lasts for that house. So if you were to go look at more houses and then come back to this one, then you would have to pay or make sure that the agent gets paid that was showing you this specific house. But if you sign a buyer agency agreement for say 6 months to work with an agent, and you're not happy with that agent for some reason, and you go down the street and you go to another agent and you sign another buyer agency agreement with them, and now they're going to be your agent. It's not going to work that way. You have to get released from that first buyer agency agreement, because if you sign a first buyer agency agreement and you sign a second buyer agency agreement and that person finds you a house, you're now going to be legally liable for making sure that agent's paid and the first agent's paid. So I am here to help educate you as we go through this entire process. If you have questions on buyer agency and you're working with an agent, make sure you reach out to them today to get clarification. If they don't know, they should be willing to find out from their broker and get that information. I am not the keeper of all the information. We are all going through this together. But as I learn these things and all these things come to fruition and we're using them more often, I just want to come on here and give you guys an update to kind of keep you in the loop. So make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. We do post weekly, and we are just giving information to the public. This is the biggest purchase in your life, so you want to make sure that you're educated, you're doing your research, and you work with an agent that is educated and they are keeping up on all of the changes as we move forward.